Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 7, entitled as Jnana Vijnana Yoga, Sloka 12. Ye caiva sāttvikā bhāvā, rājasās tāmasāś ye, matta eveti tān viddhi, natvaham teṣu te mayi. In the last session, we discussed about Sankhya philosophy, and we learned that as per the Sankhya philosophy, that is the Sankhya philosophy which established by the atheistic Kapila, doesn't agree to Ishvara, God. It accepts Chit and Achit, that is Purusha and Prakriti, the matter and living entities. The cause of creation and existence is Pradhana, the Mula Prakriti. Mula means root, cause of the Prakriti. So let's understand these terms. There is Pradhana and Prakriti. Pradhana is unmanifested material nature, whereas Prakriti is manifested material nature. That's the difference. What we are seeing right now around us, the entire creation, the existence of this world, is Pradhana in its manifested form, that is called Prakriti. When all this that we are seeing dissolves into a unmanifested form, that is called Pradhana. Now, Sankhya denies the existence of God based on few factors. We saw few yesterday. Let's continue today. Number one, Sankhya accepts that all the objects of the world are limited and dependent on something else. So, there must be an unlimited and independent cause for their existence. They call that unlimited and independent cause as Pradhana. They don't agree as Ishvara. That's number one. Number two, all the objects of the world, we see they have some common characteristics. That is, they produce pain and pleasure and indifferences. Therefore, something must exist as the cause of the universe that possesses these characteristics of pain, pleasure and indifferences. And that has to be the Prakriti, the Pradhana. If God exists and if He is the cause of the creation, then the product that we see in the effect in the creation is pain and pleasure. Then God should also have pain and pleasure, those gunas. If He does, then it defeats the Vedic statement that says God is nirguna, that is free of any of the gunas, modes or qualities, for say. If He does, then He cannot be God, as it won't make difference between God and living entities. Living entity also has pain and pleasure, can produce pain and pleasure, and God also has pain and pleasure. Then what difference does it make? Therefore, it cannot be God. It is the Prakriti, which is cause of all these things. The third point, all the objects of the world have potential to produce something else, meaning they can convert from one thing to something else. Therefore, their cause must also have the same potency, potential, and that potentiality is present in Prakriti. This point is made because to produce something out of something, that something must change from its original form to something else. Let's say, see an example, our famous pot example. So, say a clay in its original form. That clay must change its form from clay to something else to become a pot. Otherwise, we don't call that as pot. It remains as clay. So, of God, if God is the upadhana karana means the instrumental cause of creation, then He must change from His original state to something else. Otherwise, how can you get the product out of it? If He does, then the statement that says in Vedas that God is nirvikara means one who does not go through any changes, will become false. Therefore, it is Prakriti which is upadhana karana, instrumental cause. It cannot be God. So, the Sankhya do not accept God as upadhana. They don't even accept God. Then what to speak about whether they care for upadhana karana or nimitta karana or sahakari karana. Another argument that they place is at the time of dissolution, all that we are seeing now will break down into finer, smaller particle, finer state, and then they dissolve into the unmanifested state. Therefore, it has to be pradhana, because pradhana is the unmanifested form of that we see now, which is manifested form. So, where these things get manifested, come into existence, they go back to their unmanifested state where they came from, and that is the pradhana. It is not God. Finally, if at all we agree that pradhana comes from God, if at all we agree God exists, and God is the cause of this pradhana, then there's a question. Question is, who is the cause of that God, who's cause of pradhana? If someone argues that so and so, such and such is the cause of that God, who's cause of pradhana, then it's the same question. Who is the cause of that which is cause of God? And then someone says something else, and this goes on into a loop, infinite loop. Therefore, one can never come to a point that this is the root or cause of that. What Sankhya says is, supreme root cause of entire creation, the world, is Prakriti. It is not God. Then we saw an argument that how can an unintelligent Prakriti can be cause of the universe? It requires some intelligence in order to produce something. Then what to speak about this entire universe? As we can see certain law and order in the nature, the sun and moon arising and setting on time, the planetary system, the way that they revolve, the seasons in an year, and many more things. And also we know that the creation implies creator. Nothing can come out by itself. There should be some intelligence behind the creation. There should be some intelligence behind the laws of the nature. Therefore, God should exist. The atheistic Sankhya replies to this argument, we don't need to agree to existence of God because of this factor. we have living entities, the Purushas, who possesses the intelligence. So, the Purusha, the living entities, and the Prakriti, the non-intelligent matter, team up together and create this entire universe. Where is the question of Ishvara? We don't need one. Ye caiva sāttvikā bhāvā rājasās tāmasāś ye matta eveti tān viddhi natvaham teṣu te mayi. Namaste. Hare Krishna.